I never thought a school could feel dangerous. Not in our quiet suburban town. Not in the kind of place where kids ride their bikes home and neighbors chat over white picket fences. But that winter, when the days were short and the nights seemed longer than usual, the school down the street began to feel wrong. It started innocently enough. I was walking past the building one evening, just after sunset. The sky, a dull, icy gray, when I noticed the lights flicking on in the empty classrooms. I paused on the sidewalk, squinting through the windows, trying to see who might be inside. There was no one, just the faint hum of fluorescent lights, buzzing unevenly, as if the building itself was breathing. Most people would have shrugged it off, said it was probably the janitor or some maintenance crew. I wanted to do the same, but there was something about the way the shadows moved inside, like they were aware of me, watching me linger. I shook my head, quickened my pace, and promised myself I wouldn't walk by that way again. Over the next few days, I found myself taking the long route home, avoiding the school, but it didn't stop the feeling that I was being observed. On Tuesday, I saw it again. The windows on the second floor flickered with movement, though the school had been officially closed for hours. At first, I thought maybe it was a student who'd snuck in, but then I realized the pattern didn't make sense. The shadows weren't just moving, they seemed deliberate, stopping whenever I stopped. My heart beat faster, and I tried to laugh it off. I kept thinking, maybe I'm imagining it. Maybe it's just the reflection of a tree or a passing car. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. I had to tell someone, so I mentioned it casually to a friend at work. "You're just letting your imagination run wild," she said, smiling, shaking her head. And that's when I noticed it. Everyone seemed to rationalize it for me. Every neighbor, every coworker. "It's probably nothing. You're It's just shadows." But I couldn't shake the unease. The first incident that truly made me question reality happened one Friday night. I was walking my dog near the school, taking the usual quiet route. The air was sharp and cold, my breath fogging as I pulled my jacket tighter. Out of nowhere, I saw a figure standing at the edge of the playground, just beyond the chain-link fence. At first, I thought it was a student, someone staying late for an after-school activity. But as I approached, the figure didn't move. Not a step, not a blink, just staring. I stopped in my tracks. My dog growled low in her throat, the sound vibrating through my chest. I tried to call out, but my voice caught in my throat. When the figure finally moved, it wasn't toward me, it vanished. Just gone. My mind raced. Did they climb the fence? Did I blink and miss it? No. Impossible. I kept walking, faster now, refusing to look back, my heart hammering. By the time I reached the corner, I told myself it was just my imagination again. But the seed of fear had been planted. Over the following weeks, the occurrences grew more frequent. I would drive past the school, only to notice a car parked in the lot with no lights on, completely still, sometimes for hours. Occasionalmente, I thought I saw someone standing in a classroom doorway, head tilted oddly, as if they were examining the hallways for something. Teachers and staff claimed no one had been authorized to enter after hours. Yet every time I reported it, the school administration seemed oddly dismissive. Probably just maintenance staff, they'd say. Nothing to worry about. Then came the noises. Faint at first. Scratches against metal doors, muffled thumps in empty hallways. They would always stop the moment I got close. Once, as I walked past the gym, I could swear I heard someone whispering my name. My stomach dropped. I froze, listening, but the wind carried nothing, and the gym was empty. I didn't know whether to run or call for help, so I kept moving, trying to convince myself that it was just the building settling. One night, curiosity finally got the better of me. I told myself I needed to see for myself what was happening. Armed with only a flashlight, I waited until the neighborhood was silent. The street lamps flickered overhead, casting long, uneven shadows across the pavement. I approached the school, each step heavier than the last, and I felt that familiar, creeping sensation that eyes were on me. Inside, the corridors were unnervingly quiet. My flashlight cut through the darkness, illuminating dusty floors and lockers dented with years of wear. I called out, hoping for nothing, expecting nothing, and then I heard it, a faint, dragging sound, moving steadily along the far hallway. My pulse jumped. I considered turning back, but something compelled me forward, drawn toward the sound. I peeked around the corner and froze. The janitor's closet door, normally locked, was slightly ajar, and from inside, a shadow moved, slow and deliberate. I told myself it had to be the janitor, but the building had been officially closed for hours. I swallowed hard, my hands shaking. This continues only minutes after I saw the shadow near the janitor's closet. Nothing about me had changed. I was still the same girl in my gray hoodie, black jeans, and white sneakers. My hair pulled back the same way, breathing fast in the empty hallway. The school looked exactly as it did before. Dark corridors, dented lockers, flickering lights, and that heavy silence pressing in around me. I whispered a soft, "Hello," and the shadow stopped. Absolute stillness. Then, just as quickly, it vanished. The door creaked shut on its own. I stumbled backward, almost tripping over a stray backpack in the hall. My mind spun with questions. What? What were they doing? Was it someone dangerous? Or was I losing my mind? I ran out of the building and didn't look back, gasping for breath in the cold night air. From that night onward, the fear never left me. Every time I passed the school, every time I drove past the lot at night, I felt watched. The shadows in the windows seemed to follow me. My neighbors began to notice my agitation. "You're obsessing too much," they said. But how could I explain the gnawing unease, the way my stomach dropped every time I glanced toward that building? One afternoon, a week later, I decided to confront the situation. I walked past the school during daylight hours, trying to observe without fear, clouding my senses. The lot was empty, sunlight bouncing off the asphalt, and the school looked perfectly ordinary. I laughed nervously at myself. See, nothing to worry about. And yet, as I passed the main entrance, I felt it again ice. I turned sharply, but there was no one there. The feeling lingered. Then the whispers started, soft at first, barely audible, like someone murmuring from just beyond the walls. I told myself it was the wind or my imagination, but they grew clearer over time, almost forming words, never entirely understandable. Always just enough to make my skin crawl. My sleep suffered. My dreams were plagued with the echo of doors opening, footsteps trailing me down hallways I'd never entered. One evening, I decided to investigate again, bring in my camera this time. I told myself I would capture evidence and finally understand what was happening. As I stepped inside, I felt that same weight of being watched. Heavier now, more oppressive. The hallways seemed longer than before, shadows pooling in the corners, flickering with movement as if the building itself were alive. I recorded silently, my hands trembling, every creak of the floor under my shoes amplified in the quiet. I reached the library. It was empty, but then I heard the distinct sound of chairs scraping against the floor. I froze. The hair on my arms stood up. I whispered, "Who's there?" And the sound stopped. The silence that followed was absolute, almost painful in its intensity. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw Ita's shadow, just beyond the bookshelf, moving against the natural flow of light. My pulse spiked. I spun toward it. Nothing. I left the building and didn't return for several days. But the fear followed me everywhere. In my living room, on my porch, even at work. Every unexpected noise, every flicker of light felt like a warning. I told myself to stay calm, rationalize, and ignore it. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. It wasn't until my neighbor, a longtime teacher at the school, confided in me that I began to understand the full extent of what might have been happening. She told me that there had been several reports over the years of intruders in the building at night. Strange occurrences that staff refused to take seriously. Incidents quietly swept under the rug. People had been cautious, afraid to speak up. And now, hearing this, the puzzle pieces started to fit. The shadows, the whispers, the sense of being watched, they weren't figments of my imagination. Even now, months later, the fear hasn't completely faded. I avoid walking past the school at night, my nerves tense every time I drive by. The shadows in the windows are gone, or maybe I've just stopped looking, but the memory of being observed, of feeling that silent, deliberate presence, lingers in my mind. It's subtle, almost imperceptible, but I feel it every time the neighborhood grows quiet after dark. I still wonder who or what was in that building, and why did it choose to reveal itself only when I was alone? Sometimes I tell myself I should have called the police, but then I remember how quickly they dismissed the reports from staff over the years. And sometimes, late at night, I hear the faintest scraping sound in my dreams, like a chair being dragged across a wooden floor. And I know the building is not finished telling its story. If you've ever had a place in your neighborhood that just felt wrong, a location where something seemed off, but no one else noticed, I want to hear about it. Share your story below. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing. There are countless real stories like this. And sometimes, the truth is far stranger than fiction. Because the school, the one that looked so ordinary in daylight, still sits there, empty at night, waiting for someone to notice. And I can't help but feel that it hasn't forgotten me yet.